Okay, we'll call the meeting back to order, and there were no decisions made in executive session.
Steve's ready. So what was this about Birdie?
So primers used to be like $30 a thousand, and I went over there and he's like, well, they're this much. I'm going, but I went ahead and bought them because that's the hardest part to get when you're reloading bullets. So I gave $360 and that hurt a little bit, so.
You knew he died.
I didn't.
You ain't gonna get it back, buddy.
Oh, no. That's why you looked at me that way. I was trying to figure out
That's
why
what I couldn't figure out.
I didn't know that. When did he die?
Who's that?
Birdie?
Oh,
A month ago?
at least a month ago. Yeah, I was in Denver. I don't know what happened, but, well, it kind of hurt what happened.
No nefarious activity.
Oh, no. The TV's not on, right?
I think it is.
Hey, Steve.
Hey, Steve.
Thank you, Steve.
Ready?
Garbage out of the way here.
Go ahead and give you the latest on budget expenses. Road and bridge and then the solid waste.
Great Outdoors Gun Shop. What do you get from them?
That's, apparently it's the shop across the street where they work on motors and whatnot. We had a post hole digger that was dealing us fits.
Okay.
Carburetor issues, hasn't been run enough, sat too long. Messed with it a number of times and didn't have any success.
That mower brought $3,200.
Yeah, that's 36, and then I think that's what it was, and then less the
Oh, the
auction fee.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
So
pretty
we
good.
Did okay. I'm hoping for a little better, but did all right.
Is that distribution, is that just for 1 month or is that for like 6 months or?
I didn't look at that to see what the length of time on that, what that was for.
It would be 6 months, wouldn't it?
Well, more than likely.
Probably about half of it would be.
Mm-hmm.
How's the roof out there? Did he do a pretty good job?
You know, I didn't crawl up there and
I'm sure he
I didn't hear anything from Byron either. I think,
I said,
Things went
he
well.
said something to me, but I didn't, I've wondered if, since we got some rain finally, how it did, so I'm sure it did fine.
if there's not any more questions on that, I'll move on to my next topic. We've received our results on our water analysis back in middle of June from Bilco. I don't know if you guys want to take a look at it. Oh, you've got a
Yeah, I've
copy of
just
that.
been holding it for.
Okay, good. All right, and here's another one. Actually, I've got one more here. Yeah, you might hand that off to Roger there.
Thanks.
Overall, we're well within our limits on the samples that were taken, well below the minimum limit. And when they did these samples in April, Sam Bowes from KDHE, he's a geologist for KDHE, he met with Byron and myself, and he was suggesting that we could either draft a request or have Leah with Milco, which is what I would recommend if we were to pursue this. Draft a request to get an exemption from doing our water analysis, our water sampling. Due to the distance, there are several reasons. Due to the distance from down to the water table level, it exceeds 150 feet. It's anywhere from 164 to 170 or 68 feet down to the groundwater level. And there are provisions, or in the statute, it does mention this, that if you exceed that depth to water level, that you may be able to request an exemption. And then Leah, I did visit with Leah from Milco, and she did mention that also due to some our lack of rain, if you will, our dry our annual precipitation in this area is at a level that's would tend to allow one maybe to pursue the exemption. And then the other thing is that we're looking at, in order to continue our groundwater sampling, we're to have a minimum of 3 monitoring wells, 1 up gradient, and then a minimum of 2 that you're pulling samples from. Well, monitoring well 5 is about dry. If I understand from looking at the information on here, that's what I've got that tab for. It's essentially there's 3 inches of water at the bottom of the well, so it's been dropping and it's about to go dry. So we would have to do another monitoring well. So we'd have to drill one. And you're looking at probably minimum cost, I believe.
That's the page you're on, Steve.
Right,
You got last page.
and that just has the depth to the water level, groundwater
Okay.
level, the upper part of the water table.
What is
Pour
hydro,
some water in it before they come in.
Yeah.
what's hydrosleeving?
That's how they pull the sample.
They just-
I'm not sure how big that sleeve is, but it's gonna be, you go down and I'm sure 3 inches of water, you can't
Yeah.
pull a sample from that more than likely. But it's been trending down, and it is gonna, at the rate it's going and the direction it's going, it's gonna dry up, and we would need to drill another well to replace monitoring well 5 to continue with the program of the water sampling.
We'll probably need a budget for that then.
If we're to continue that, right. And by requesting the exemption, though, we would still keep our wells, we'd still have groundwater elevations measured when they're out taking the gas samples, they would still continue that. And that way they can continue to monitor all 3 wells and the gradient of the groundwater as far as which way it's moving, which shouldn't change a whole lot, but. So I guess what I'm asking is if we would want to pursue and have Milco draft up a request that we become exempt from the water sampling requirement. And then you would have the option to look that over. She would be able to cite the regulations and use the verbiage to draft this request. And then if we're okay with that, then we would send that on to KDHE, and then they would review it to ensure that it's,
What I don't understand is that we have a monitoring well and we're clear to shale, which I'm sure we are, and there's not any water. Why do we have to go dig one where there is water? We're no contamination there.
right, and it's been sampled since 2000, the way it looks
Yeah,
on here
and
from
never been
Milco.
contaminated.
And there's been fluctuations, and it did jump up a little bit, but it also did that several years ago, and then it dropped back down. I asked Leah about that, and she mentioned that part of that parameter, or the chromium is what that showed up, where it went up a little bit. Says that's also in the soil. You can get background. That's why you see some readings coming in, and it's typically it's going to be just background from, like she said in this sample. If you pull a little more silt up with the sample, you might see a little slight
So
jump.
we're better off to have one with water then.
To have a monitoring well with water? Well, we're required to. If we're to continue this, we need to have a minimum of 3 wells
But
in
if we
order
don't-
to continue this.
If we
So
don't ask for the exemption, we are gonna have to drill another.
we would
well.
have to drill another well.
So basically, the exemption benefits us to try
We're-
to get that.
Right.
Okay.
And we will still maintain we'll still keep them, we won't cap them. When I talked to Sam about this, we keep those wells, we still measure the elevations. They're still, and so that way, if there's any reason to believe that, maybe the water table does come up, gets closer to that 150-foot depth, nothing says we can't pull samples when we
Yeah.
want to. It's just we would not be required.
Okay, and you don't have to send them in.
Well, you do send them in, and that is another expense. That's an annual expense. I asked Leah this, and she said it's just a little under $1,500 for our portion of the sampling, the analyzing the samples, coming up with the readings. And
So what you're saying is we'd better off if we ask for the exemption.
I think that's worth pursuing. It's still, in the end, it's going to be up to KDHE to grant it. So,
I think go ahead and do it. Yeah.
okay, I'll get with Leah
Do we need a
and
motion?
Yeah, I think so, just to be safe.
I'll move that we have Milco make up
an exemption
an
request.
exemption request to KDHE.
I second it.
Then first and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Next item I have is just an update on where we're at with the new CDL requirements. I did a little looking into this, and what I would like to do, if the board is okay with this, is go through Shaban's short course. Chris Shaban, he offers, he's a certified behind the wheel instructor, and he also can get the short course, I think is what he called it. There's the driving theory, I think is what they call it, that you have to take too. We would be able to get all that done through him, and it would cost about $1,500. And that includes it's a 12-hour course that we could do online. We wouldn't have to send our drivers anywhere. They could do it on a computer, complete the coursework, the classwork. And then one advantage for us is where we have a whole bunch of guys that already have a CDL. He can get with us to lay out what the new driver needs to be able to do, and then we can drive with them. You can still do that as long as this candidate for the CDL has his learner's permit. I'll back up. That's the first thing that the candidate would need to do, is go take the written test, get your learner's permit. He can drive with our drivers. We make sure he's meeting all the criteria that Chris suggests that we be able to do. And then the driver would go and spend a day with Chris driving, probably it'd be our truck, down in Oakley, be on the road and also on a range, to make sure that he's passes the behind the wheel training, and then Chris can sign off on him.
If they've already got a CDL license, they're not grandfathered in, if you will.
It's just new CDLs.
This is for a new,
Oh, for a
someone
new
that doesn't have a
person.
CDL, or if you
Started
need, if you need to remove an exemption or a restriction. Let's say you're restricted and you can't, you're not, not air brake certified, or in order to do anything like that, my understanding, you would have to go
You do
through
have
this
to go,
training.
okay.
So even for current CDL drivers, you may have to do this, but, and certainly with the new applicant who doesn't have a
So that's
CDL.
1,500 per,
1,500,
okay,
correct.
per person
Right,
each time, okay.
yes. So, and
How
that's-
many how many people do we have that don't have CDLs right now?
I think we just have one
Okay.
at this time. And then one thing that hasn't been addressed and has been brought up by others that I've talked to, where we're required to have this, and it's an added expense and rather a significant one. And this is actually on the lower end. I've seen some quotes, just $1,500 just for the class, for the theory, and that's not including the driving. But do we want to require in the future employees to say, if you go through and get the CDL through us, you need to maintain your employment with us for a
Set
minimum
period
of
of
2
time.
years, or
Yeah, if we're gonna put, we did that with EMTs, didn't we? They needed to be,
Yeah, I believe so, but I think they're still doing that, I don't know.
okay.
but it's something that we need to.
So you're saying so we don't just train them and they go out?
Right, in the future, when we have to do this, if someone comes on and we pay for getting the CDL, and then,
I think
8 months later,
we probably need to.
take another job and leave.
Draft
That's-
something out.
so it'd be an agreement, and it might be interesting to hear what others are doing. But this is something that's still fairly new, it just went into
I don't know
effect in February.
if some people would say they don't want to go to workforce because they might not like the job, but I could see if they leave before a 2-year period, they gotta pay a percentage of the money back.
Right, I didn't know if we wanted to prorate it or
Would
something.
that? We might want to let them go.
I'd be
Well, that's
interested.
if they leave. If they're terminated for some reason.
Right.
They don't have to pay it back.
Pay it back.
True. But that's something we can discuss at a later
You
date.
know, we need to do something like that. And we just can't train people and have them leaving. Which I
Yeah,
don't think
protect
we'd have a problem with it most of the time, but.
Right.
you know.
And if you don't pay for it, I don't know that you're gonna get anybody to just go out and do that on their own.
Well,
You know, that expensive.
No,
I've heard some of them up to
I'm not saying,
$5,000.
Right,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
saying,
yeah,
I'm
just
saying we need to pay for
Yeah.
it, but
But they also get paid more. We don't, I mean, if they've got a CDL, we don't put them down at ground zero, right? We kind of have them stage 2.
it would be a help too,
Yeah.
yeah, it's gonna
So, I mean, there's some
work in
incentive.
favor too.
Yeah, there's gonna be some incentive.
Who would draw that up? Their attorney?
I would say Leslie.
Okay.
So is this Chris, is he a certified
He went through
tester as well? So,
he went through the training to become a behind the wheel instructor, and I assume, I'm not sure how he gets access to the coursework, if that's tied in with that
So-
training or not, but.
they will still have to go to the DOT department to take the test, correct?
Right, yeah, once-
Is there any, if somebody doesn't pass, is it still $1,500? I mean, is there guarantee from him that,
That's a good question.
because,
Well, he won't, I think you can go back and take the test again. I would think you'd be able to, I shouldn't say that for sure. I'm assuming with the behind the wheel training that you are prepared. Pardon?
3 times you can take it? Or-
That could be.
Seems like-
I don't know for sure, but I think you would be prepared enough that you would have stand a
He'd probably.
very good chance
Yeah.
at getting through it and passing, you know, at least the first time, if not the second. But I don't know if we need approval for this, or if
Probably
this
need a
is,
motion to go forward with the one you have
okay.
right now, and then he can get with Leslie and draw up the conditions of working here for so long or whatever.
I move we do all that. I don't know exactly what,
Well, it'll let,
I mean,
it'll let the one right now get started, and then he can work with Leslie.
did I understand though that, are we gonna have some guy go be trained by him so a new guy can ride with that guy?
No, anybody with the CDL can still go out with someone that has a learner's permit and drive with them. And then Chris, just with his program anyway, he will get with me or whoever it is that might be driving with the individual, and then make sure we're, you know, focusing on certain key points. And
So,
How many hours they gotta drive like this?
there's no set time on how long you drive. It's just, you need to become proficient. That's my understanding again, that you need to become proficient at all the key parts to getting through and being signed off by Chris on the behind the wheel training.
so we have a 12-hour online course that the person will do before. They then will go to Oakley and ride with Chris and be educated on road safety.
Right, after
brakes.
driving with,
After driving with our
Practicing,
Chris.
correct.
Okay.
and then once he, you know, finishes that, goes through and gets signed off by the behind the wheel instructor, then you go down back to Colby, you schedule your walk around, your driving with the examiner.
Right. I guess I'm okay with that as long as we do the agreement where if we're gonna put the expense into doing this, we want you here for 2 years, otherwise there's a percentage that you will pay back.
And I just
So-
threw 2 years out, that's, I mean, we
Right.
could see what other
So,
counties are
I'll
doing, and
Second it.
I think it'll be hard for us to get the money back.
Okay, well, it's been first and second, and all in favor
Aye.
All right,
for that, all of that.
but we gotta do it.
Yeah, you got it.
they do offer training to become a behind the wheel instructor. Periodically, you can go and have somebody within your department become an instructor, but you pay to do that. I can't remember if it's a 1 or 2 day workshop, and the one that I found was in McPherson. So there's be the expense to do that, and then to maintain that, you need to be recertified every 2 years, and that's another possible
And then
option.
that guy'll leave.
Right, and then you gotta come up with someone else that's willing to,
What's Chris's last name?
Shaben,
Shaben.
Schaben. And he's actually out of McCook, but they
Oh,
must
McCook.
have, well, he's listed as Oakley for this, Shaben short course. And I found that on the registry of, providers.
Okay.
I had one last thing that I just kind of a last minute item that we've been kicking around. Our current low boy is extremely low to the ground, even when you get everything aired up. We've had it hang up on us a number of times, creating extremely dangerous situations, and one particular I remember. We would like to pursue looking at replacing that low boy, and what we were thinking we might try and do is actually we've got 2 flatbed trailers. We've got the low boy and then a flatbed with the ramps on the back. And we were looking at trying to maybe get rid of both of those, and then probably along with the truck and get just one good flatbed low boy trailer that we can use to haul the excavator and dozers and those bigger pieces of equipment.
Trade 2 for 1.
3.
You'd try and
3,
trade
I
one,
think.
the better of the
2
two.
trailers and a
Go
truck.
and see what we could get for a
Yes.
trade, buy the new trailer, and then the other flatbed, sell it, and maybe, we thought maybe even sell it with a truck on it, either through auction or just try and, put a price on it and sell
So
it.
is the suspension that worn on it, or what's going on?
I'm not, I think it just may depend, I'm not
Gotcha.
very, much in the know on flatbed lowboy trailers, I haven't driven one myself, so. But I do notice, and I pay attention when I'm going down the road, I see varying heights
Right.
on them. I mean, I see some that are up a good 8 to 10 inches. Ours is only about that much when you're loaded.
So, does our lowboy take like a 5 horsepower Briggs and Stratton motor that you start and you?
Right.
Okay, so could it possibly be in that the linkage up high isn't holding it up high,
I'd have to ask the guys on that, if there's
okay,
any. Anyway, we've kicked around trying to find ways to get it a little
little higher.
higher off the
Okay.
ground.
I don't know enough about it. I've had some down on our property before, and I've kind of looked at them. What does a lowboy cost?
Well,
Because we're
they're
really-
in the neighborhood of $50,000 and
Okay.
maybe up.
Okay.
I haven't looked that hard. I do glance at them when I see them on
And are you
the
wanting
sites,
to
but
sell the TA 600? Is that the truck you said? Did you say truck? You were gonna say?
one of the trucks. We talked about moving one of those along. We thought maybe we'd just include it with the flatbed trailer.
Okay. Is that the one we've had engine trouble with, or?
They've all had issues.
Okay.
The one we're getting rebuilt is still down in Goodland.
Okay.
They're still waiting on the on the wire harness.
Okay.
They do not carry it. Cummings has to make it, and I just talked to Brad 2 or 3 days ago, and he says they have it made yet. He's got everything else done,
Right.
or in the process of getting it done, but we're waiting on the wire harness. So
It'll be interesting to see what we could get. We're talking 2 trailers and the truck, right? And then trying
So-
a
and
lowboy,
to get a
flatbed, and a
to
truck.
get a
new
better
version.
trailer,
Yeah.
yes.
It'd be interesting to see where that comes out as far as a purchase price of 50,000, because it may be pretty close.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And the thing would be that we would be able to just get rid of, obviously, both of them at once. We'd have to do a trade to get our lowboy replaced, and then after that, probably sell the
And it's not
flatbed
possible to get
trailer.
bigger, whatever it is, air things that hold it up.
airbags, I don't know, is a
Airbags.
lowboy airbag, Mike?
I think that one we have is spring ride.
Okay, so the springs can, over years, collapse.
Yeah. Said, I wonder if you just put new ones.
Maybe.
And those Challengers, they're just not, they're more like an oil rig. A lot of oil companies use them because they're heavy and steel and they're just not made for
Right.
anything but pretty flat surfaces. It's really tough with that one. So they have a pretty heavy duty on their frame where it's the 55 ton.
Okay.
So if that's okay with you,
Yeah.
I'd like to start
Do some
looking into
checking.
that and do some serious looking, and I'll
Yeah.
get back to you.
Keep us in the loop. I want to kind of, because of budget stuff, I want to kind of know before we act on that one. if that's
Correct.
okay.
Yep. I think that's all I got.
Hey, thank you, Steve.
Thank you, guys.
Have a good weekend.
You too.
I've got to use that.
Okay. 5-minute break. Hey, when did you say we were gonna go look at that?
Oh, darn it, that's, Mark just texted me yesterday.
I wish they were 1,500 bucks.